and welcome to Rights and Recourse, a program that is about your rights and recourse to those violated. My name is Dumile Matez. According to a survey by the Human Sciences Research Council in 2007, more than 80% of South Africa's population considered homosexuality as always wrong. Despite the guarantees of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, gays, but more especially lesbians, have been targeted. A spate of killings of lesbians being killed in South Africa shocked South Africa, and a recent one being in Fetersdorp in the northwest. Recent events on the continents where gay and lesbians were banned did not help the situation. Today on Rights and Recourse, we take a look at these and many other questions. But before we tackle this issue, let us see this insert.
Just like everybody else, like we are the citizens of South Africa. You need to gain that respect that everybody gained. So we stand against of those traditional leaders who are standing against us.
This is about recognition for gay people and protecting gay people from possible changes in the Constitution, things that could affect our lives, we could become criminals again, and that's not a place where I want to be. That's not the South Africa I want to live in. We're walking to protect what we have, which is also one of the best constitutions in the world, and it's under threat.
In the Indian community, we need to obviously be accepted of what we are. They need to be educated on being gay, because most of the Indian community, they don't know what gay is, because if you go out to the Indian community, they think, oh, you're gay and you got some kind of disease or something.
To respond to these questions and many others are Ms. Thoko Mpumlwana, Deputy Chairperson from the Commission for Gender Equality, Ms. Edna Munedi, Legal Debt Collector, and in our Cape Town studio, we have the Deputy Minister of Justice, Mr. John Jeffrey. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to Rights and Recourse.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us.
First of all, Mr. Deputy Minister, let me start with you. Despite the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa laying the basis for the construction of a democratic and non-racial South Africa, this problem, the LGBTI community has this problem, and nobody actually puts those things into, looks at the noble ideas that are in the Constitution.
Well, the Constitution gives everybody rights. Obviously, the problem is the implementation of those rights. And with members of the LGBTI community, it's a problem of the rest of the community, or certain people in the rest of the community, not accepting those rights. But really, all the laws are in place to prevent discrimination, but it's an issue of changing society's attitudes.
You really remind me, when you say the implementation of those rights, you remind me of a speech made by Judge Kathy Satchwell at the Pro Bono Awards last week, where she said the Constitution is a beautiful piece of paper. It all boils down to implementation.
But I mean, in this case, it's an issue largely of other members of society overcoming their problems with LGBTI people.
Probably we should ask the panel here, Edna, what are the real problems for the gay and lesbian community?
You mean in the real problems that we face?
Yes.
In the community? Okay, number one is like when you want to come out and you get judged by your own family and friends. Number two is being bullied at school every day, like having to put up with everybody judging you. And the other one that I'd mention is that, facing jokes that people pass at your workplace regarding your sexuality, being discriminated. So those are the problems that we face daily.
Well, how do we make sure that, Ms. Mpumlwana, probably you can come back in, you can come in here to talk. Well, how do you make sure that these values are upheld by the general public and the state?
I think the first thing is that there is a law, there is the Constitution that protects people, and we have to just abide by the Constitution. That's the first thing. for the Commission for Gender Equality. People must know that the Constitution exists in this country. It's not a matter of choice. Secondly, we should educate people. We should accept that this piece of paper needs people to implement, to educate, and to believe in it. We are a long way towards achieving that ideal. And therefore, we need to work together to ensure that people in our communities understand. You know, just talking about some of the challenges, not only is it about bullying, it's about people being killed, being maimed, being left, things happening to them, especially women in our communities. And so we really have to work on a society that cares and loves for one another and understands people and allows people to be who they are.
Minister, Deputy Minister, were we taken by surprise by these killings of lesbians in the townships as a country or as a state?
Look, definitely there's been a problem with, over the past few years, with the killings, particularly of lesbians, and the classification of those killings rather as corrective rape. From the Department of Justice's point of view, there were approaches to the previous Minister of Justice, Jeff Radebe, to do something about it. And a national task team was established to look at the issue involving both different government departments and members of civil society. There was a national intervention strategy that was released earlier this year at Constitution Hill. But basically the gist of the strategy is ensuring that the arms of government work properly, the criminal justice system works properly, and that people can have their rights protected. So specifically, there's a rapid response team, part of the national task team rather, which is there to track cases of violence against members of the LGBTI community in the justice system to ensure that those cases are properly dealt with. We do generally, I must say, have a problem in South Africa with sexual violence. So the overall issue of sexual violence is a problem for society as a whole, and unfortunately there seems to be specific targeting in certain areas of members of the LGBTI community, particularly lesbians.
I heard you say, you talk about the criminal justice system, and I would want to believe that criminal justice system includes the Department of Justice and the police and everybody else who is involved in the furtherance of the upholding of the law. Is that the case? Is there a coordination between these departments?
Yes, and that is in this rapid response team that I spoke about, which also includes some representation from civil society. And the idea basically is when people are informed of a crime that's been committed against an LGBTI person or people, that there's monitoring to ensure that that crime is properly investigated and properly prosecuted, or the accused are brought to justice.
Quickly, before we will pursue this further, Ms. Pumbulwana, what I would want to know is, what is the role of Chapter 9 institutions in this instance?
The role of Chapter 9 institutions, Human Rights Commission in particular, and the Commission for Gender Equality, is to ensure that what is in the Constitution is implemented. Government is have a responsibility and a duty to ensure that people's rights are protected, which is why we have the task team and all the legislation that we have, because government has got to make sure on behalf of society. Civil society also has a role, and therefore we, as Chapter 9, we have an oversight to ensure that things are going smoothly, laws are implemented, people are protected, people have rights, and people have access to information. And for instance, with the task team, they have launched a toll-free number, which is important, so people can phone a particular line when they feel their rights are violated in the LGBTI community. But also to educate. We have an important responsibility to research and educate and participate in education programs so that people understand what the Constitution says about the rights of others.
We'll come back to the education issue as to who is responsible for that education. If you'd like to join us to today's discussion, please call us on 011 714 5497 or 714 5498 or tweet us at Rights Recourse. We'll be back after the break.
Zoom into Africa. This is Chad. The president is Idriss Déby. Chad got independent from France on 11 August in 1961. The population is more than 11 million people. One of the major languages spoken is Arabic. Monetary unit is CFA.
I don't think there was one devastating moment when I realized I was gay. It was a gradual awareness, I suppose. I assume I was always gay, and I never had a sort of massive sort of angst and crisis about it. This is who I am. This is the way I've always been. There wasn't an earth-shattering moment when I suddenly thought, my God, I've got to tell the world, you know, or I need to come out. I didn't burn the closet door in effigy. I don't think I ever had a closet door. It was never in. I've just always been me.
I always knew I was different. I always just thought I had a more sort of artistic bent to me than other people, perhaps.
Welcome back, and those comments there being made by those gentlemen. One of the other things probably I should ask, because I noticed they're called fathers. There's a view by several people in South Africa, several other people in South Africa, that gay and lesbian couples cannot be good parents like heterosexual people.
It's just a typical statement that people pass around. I do have a friend that is a single mother. She's a good parent to that child. And I know my other gay friends, they're good parents to their children.
Is it right, though, that this family, this community, should band it together, should get together and form some coalition of some sort?
Look, we are different. We are called different from other, like, heterosexual, right? But I don't think we are supposed to be cornered to say people mustn't be parents and all, you know. You educate your child, you know, you teach them that this is your father, I'm your father. And whatever people say outside, don't listen to them. That's all.
The other thing is, do people take time to understand this community?
People, they don't actually take time to understand. They don't actually make time as well to understand. You know, they don't read. They don't make research and all. They just pass judgments. That's all.
We know in South Africa that we have this violence against women, and the question is, why do we have this violence against lesbian and even gay people?
People have a phobia. They call it homophobia. It's a fear of homosexuality, right? They feel threatened by gay and lesbians people, you know, which I don't understand why, because beside my sexual preference, I'm still a woman at the end of the day. So I don't understand why the other person would fear me as a woman. The only difference is my sexuality, my sexual preference. That's the only difference. That's what makes us different from heterosexual people.
Deputy Minister, quickly, the one other question I would have wanted to know is these beliefs. Apparently, some people are saying in African traditions, there is no homosexual, there's no lesbians. Are these beliefs not being fathomed by are these killings not being made strong by these kind of beliefs?
Look, I think any form of belief that it's untraditional, that it's contrary to certain religions, don't think that helps the public's attitude to members of the LGBTI community. So yeah, I don't think those help. I think the accuracy of those views, I mean, that's possibly a debate for another day, but there's a number of people arguing that those views are not correct.
There's been calls for government to throw the book at all of these perpetrators of these heinous crimes against lesbians. What forms of laws can government use against them? We have existing laws, though.
We have existing laws, and those laws are pretty tight. So, for example, rape is a crime, whether it's of whether it's of a man or whether it's of a woman, it's a crime. There is the one area that there is a gap, in a sense, is as far as hate crimes. But I don't think it would change too much with regards to crimes against LGBTI people, because already, I mean, effectively what it would do would be to make a crime more serious if it's a hate crime. So, for example, if somebody throws a brick at a mosque, normally now that would just be malicious damage to property. But once we bring in hate crimes, it would become more serious if the intention or the purpose, the reason why the person threw the brick at the mosque was because they didn't like Muslim people. But as far as rape, rape is already a particularly serious crime. So I don't think it will make too much difference. The key issue really from government side is the enforcement of the crime, that if people commit rape, commit murder, that they get brought to book.
There's been a whole lot of reference to education in this regard, and who should be doing the education?
Look, it's really all of us. Education is a key component of government strategy, together with also the Chapter 9 institutions, like the Gender Commission, the Human Rights Commission. But it's also, I think, up to people in society as a whole also to start asking themselves about these issues. I really find it difficult to believe that anyone can justify raping another person because they disagree with their sexual orientation.
Well, Sister Oprah, I should have asked you this question. It's what role has traditional beliefs played in stereotyping people in this community?
The interesting thing about these traditional beliefs is that the issue of being gay is not new. Society in perpetuity has always had people who are gay, of different sexual orientation, and it was accepted. So we are struggling to understand where this hatred comes from. It's a modern thing that just needs to be dealt with, that people are intolerant, and it should not be given the dignity of culture and religion. Because if we do that, we are even giving hatred a label that is not deserving. It is a crime, it is hatred, it is wrong, and any culture that promotes it should be interrogated. And we don't believe that cultures do, but people use culture for their own purposes. So we need to deal with it.
In other words, culture should not be used for the justification of casting people in this community in a bad light. Yes.
You know, in the past, religion would be used for racism. People would say, the Bible says, white people are superior to black people for a long time. And where are we today? If we had stuck to that interpretation of religion, we would not have a free and democratic South Africa. So we should seek to ask difficult questions and transform people's understanding. So it's not fair for people, especially in leadership positions, to use that argument and to promote hatred.
How do we, in this patriarchal society, do all of these things? Because people are very strong speakers, traditional leaders are very strong speakers. They are very much opposed to this kind of thing. How then do we influence them?
There are lots actually of traditional leaders who respect the Constitution. We just need more. They need to be given space to do that, and we should expose those more than the ones who are wasting everybody's time by talking about things that are not building social cohesion in this country, and as proponents of hatred. And so we have to work even with those to transform them, because remember, we come from a past. They grew up with all these stereotypes. So at some point you actually want to say, shame, let's work with them, because they really don't know what the Constitution is about. We hope they'll get there.
Edna, we had hoped to have Zanele here, Zanele Moholi, but unfortunately she had to go to another of those funerals where a lesbian was killed. The question I want to know is, are parents being pushed into a corner by, say, doctors or whoever, say, this kid has this transgender problem, this kid must be a man or a girl, boy or a girl, and they do that, and then later they discover he has all the characters of a boy if he was made a girl, or all the characters of a girl if he was a boy.
Parents are never pushed. Trust me, your parent will see the type of person you are when you grow up. You know, for instance, with me, I think it was kind of hidden in a way that I did love like playing with boys most of the time, right? Can I tell you now that I've never came out to my parents. They probably picked up on their own because they see there's no guy coming in here, there's only girls coming in.
Are you saying to me you've never sat down with your parents to tell them about your situation?
I don't see the need. I'm not obliged to do that, you know. Yes, they are my parents, right? But you are my father, you can see what's going on with me. You can tell. So there's no need for me to come out and say to you, Dad, I love girls instead of boys and all that. I don't need to do that. If there's a need and time, yes, I will. But then there's no need at all. So parents are never cornered. They're never cornered to say their kids will be this or that.
Quickly, Deputy Minister, I want to go back to, if you'd like to join us on today's discussion, please call us on 011 714 5497 or 5498, or tweet us at Rise Recourse. Deputy Minister, my apologies. The question I wanted to ask is, the National Task Team, I believe, came out of this outcry around the killing of lesbians when people were talking about hate crimes and those things. I will be coming back to that, the hate crimes, but I wanted to just give us a background of how the National Task Team came into being.
Well, it is correct, as you said, as a result of an increase, it seemed, in crimes against lesbians. There was an approach to the then Minister of Justice, Jeff Radebe, to establish or to do something about it, and that is where the National Task Team was established, comprising of representatives from different government departments and from civil society organizations. So it was very much a response to the crimes, particularly against lesbians.
There's another thing I want to come to. Probably you should take a first bite on it, and that is, people have actually said this crime should be regarded as a hate crime. Now, it is very difficult to prove a hate crime in court because there's going to be some cross-examination taking place. How then do you place this, do you put this on the table in a court as hate crime?
Look, as I'd said earlier, we don't have legislation specifically on hate crimes at the moment in South Africa, and that is something we are working towards developing, wanting to engage the public on it. But as far as the more serious crimes, such as the murder of a person because of their sexual orientation or the rape of a person because of their sexual orientation, those crimes on their own are serious enough. Making that crime a hate crime isn't really going to make too much difference as far as the sentence the person will get if they're found guilty.
Since the launch of the National Task Team, Deputy Minister, how far, I'm sorry, Mr. Minister, I'm told we must go to a break. If you want to join us, please call us. We'll be back with you after the break. Welcome back. If you'd like to join us on today's discussion, please call us on 071 011 714 5497 or 5498 or tweet us at Rights Recourse. Mr. Deputy Minister, the question I wanted to ask before we went to the break was, what work has been done by the National Task Team so far since its launch in April this year?
Well, basically, the National Intervention Strategy Framework has been launched, and the main strategic outputs on that strategy are developing prevention programs to address violence on the grounds of sexual orientation and gender identity, developing an improved response by the criminal justice system to crimes affecting LGBTI people, and then strengthening public sector institutions to deal with LGBTI issues, including discrimination and hate crimes. So, the strategy was launched. It's an intervention strategy from 2014 to 2017, and work is being done with each of those objectives broken down into specific actions that have to be taken or need to be taken to implement that objective or achieve that objective.
Edna, we've seen around the world top sportsmen and women and many other celebrities coming out and say they are gay. Has that helped people like yourself to build your confidence?
Not in a way, hey? But I think we are all different. I've never had an issue with my sexuality. I only had an issue when I was young. Like you become, like kind of confused of what's going on with you. Why are you different from others? But most people never had issues with their sexuality. So celebrities coming out, it means nothing to us. It's not different to us. You understand? So we still the same people. We still same. They coming out doesn't mean that it's going to boost our confidence to come out. Not at all. Not at all.
I've seen many people in your community, in this community, let me say in your community, in this community, who have come out and used the fact that they are celebrities and also the fact that they are professionals. Like, for instance, Zanele Moholi is a filmmaker and photographer, and they use their status to fight for people in your, like in this community.
Yeah, they do, yes, and it helps at some time, but will it be different if I were to come out in a national TV and say that I'm gay and all, It does help in a way, and it also help those that are in the closet to come out. Not fully out. There's a lot of people that are still in the closet. There are few celebrities that I've spotted that are in the closet.
But you know what, Mr. Matthias, I think that for me personally, and I think for the CGE, it would help to have more people, because in any cause you need role models. You need people who will say, this is who I am. I'm successful. I'm a scientist. I'm a filmmaker. I'm whoever I am. And my sexuality is like this, and I'm okay. And the more we have such people, is the more it normalizes. If a traditional leader were to come out and say, you know what, I'm actually, I have a different sexual orientation, that would make people say, it does not make you less of a traditional leader or a pastor for you to have a different sexual orientation.
So just hold that thought. We have a call from Mpumalanga 6. Mpumalanga 6. Good afternoon and welcome to Rights and Recourse.
Yes, how are you?
Fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm also fine. I just want to ask something, man. Can I speak to Swati?
Yes, you can talk?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I just want to ask, if maybe it is, gay, it's not going to understand, is it if we get over the private part emfana noma of eyelid noma bethe ma private part entombazane noma kanjani, because I'm understanding in our creation it's God created a girl and a boy, so how does it cast this thing of lesbian and gay? Is it not something like a demonic thing or what?
No, let me just put that question to the panel, because you are asking what you're asking is probably what we call transgender.
That's why we have LGBTI. Kukho abantu, there are people who have different sexual organs. There are people who have one organ but they feel different. There are people who are gay. Like she says, she's a woman, she's proud of being a woman, but she's a lesbian. There are people who are men who feel like that. And in fact, there are people who change their sex because they have an operation, bamboo operator, because the body feels different and the organs are different. One is more developed than the other. And bakhona nyani, they are there in our communities. Siyabafihla, we hide them, and they are in those closets painfully suffering alone. And so now we have a law in South Africa that allows you to change your sex now so that you can, your gender, so that you can decide as you get older. It's advised not to, you must not do it when you are young, because as you grow up, things may change. Yes. So and that's getting about I understand.
Well, I hope Zakes understands that Ms. Mpumlwana brought out the teacher in her. I just want to I haven't forgotten that the Deputy Minister in Cape Town. There are a few things I want to discuss with the panel here in Johannesburg. First of all, the other things, Sis Togo, what are we doing with many people who are in the rural areas, who are suppressed, whose feelings are suppressed around this very issue?
We are very lucky as the Commission that we work with civil society organization, and the task team is also helping now, coming on board, bringing on board social development, bringing on board education, bringing on board the government departments, because even those who work in government are also dealing with their own personal stereotypes in providing services. And we are coming across, especially in rural areas, a very painful situation where people are killed, where people are thrown out of their homes, and cases come to us to deal with. But the more we have this task team working, the more we have government people who understand, the police who are well trained, then the issues are dealt with dignity, and people know where to go and they are attended to. So things are getting slightly better, but we're still a long way.
Deputy Minister, probably I should ask you this question. How is the National Task Team funded?
Sorry, how is it funded?
Yeah, how is it funded, yes.
Look, it's basically from different government departments, and then some civil society involvement, particularly through the Foundation for Human Rights.
Is that how it's funded? Can it do its work? Can it get to the people who need help?
I would hope so. I mean, probably you'll very seldom find people saying they've got enough money to do what needs to be done. I'm sure if you ask Sis Toko whether the Gender Commission has enough money, that's what she'll tell you. But there is some money.
Yeah.
We have not actually, probably I'm sure we'll come back to my panel in Johannesburg. We haven't actually, the question that was asked by Zakes, probably Zakes wanted us to spell out what do we mean by LGBTI.
Oh, it's lesbians, gays, bisexuals, transgender, and intersex.
And then probably you should explain, what is intersex?
Intersex, oh God, intersex is whereby a person appeared to be a female outside, but have a typical male anatomy in the inside.
And then there was the bisexual that came out in a court case during the week.
Yes. A bisexual is whereby a woman preferred to like, they've got feelings for both male and females. That's a bisexual. But how they interrupt it or make it work out, I wouldn't tell. I don't know. I don't know if they happen to be with a guy and a girl at the same time, which I doubt. I think it's whereby there's a time you feel that you love a guy and then you are with that guy. And there's a time you feel that you love a woman and you are with that woman.
Sister, how much of a boost was the role played by the Constitutional Court of Uganda when the Parliament came up with this law that outlawed gays and lesbians, and the Constitutional Court actually turned down and said, no, we cannot allow that kind of thing in our country? What kind of a boost did it give to the continent?
It is actually very good for democracy and for human rights and for dignity of people. I think it was taking us back. Really, that law was taking us back. I don't know where the pressure was coming from for Parliament to pass that law in an era where we are trying, all seeking to say, how do we live together in harmony as people within our countries, our communities, the continent and the world. And so we were very pleased to know that the Constitution worked in that country. Something in me tells me that law will not come back. Even though they said we'll bring it back, I doubt that maybe they'll bring a law that's different, that actually protects the rights of the LGBTI community.
We actually also saw, when we come back, we'll talk about, I just don't want to deal with it here. I want to talk about mixed sex marriages. What is it called? Same-sex marriages, yes. I'm sorry. Same-sex marriages when I come back and see whether this community can live side by side. We are trying to, the other question I want to ask the Minister, probably should ask you. Did you know something about the National Task Team?
I've only heard about it, I think not so long ago, 2 or 3 months back, and I heard that it has been around since April.
Since April, yes.
Yes. So it hasn't been.
Surely there's
actually, I'm quite sure that a lot of people, a lot of LGBTI people out there that don't know about the task team.
Well, if you'd like to join us, as we've been saying, you can join us by calling us on 011-714-5497 or 5498, or tweet us at Recourse. We'll be back after the break.
Cultural Village is a large family homestead with 16 huts, each of them with its own specific purpose.
My responsibility, it is taking care of the family. As far as cleanliness is concerned, I have to make sure that I keep the home as clean as possible every morning when I wake up.
That's Kaleidoscope, Sundays 5:30 p.m. on SABC News.
Welcome back. Deputy Minister, going back to the Constitution, despite the legalization of same-sex marriages, these are still fraught with problems, and I'm aware that this function falls under the Department of Home Affairs. But my question is, can an official refuse to perform a same-sex marriage?
Look, it's not, it is, as you said, Home Affairs. As far as I'm aware, they can't. That would be a government official. Obviously, a religious marriage officer is in a different position.
Have we been successful in carrying out these same-sex marriages in South Africa?
I don't have the figures, but as far as I'm aware, they are proceeding without problem generally.
Let's take a call from Namibia, from Gongwane in, I don't know whether it's in Windhoek or in Chiwarongo. Gongwane, good afternoon and welcome to Rights and Recourse.
Good morning, good afternoon. How are you doing?
Fine, thanks. How are you? You sound like you're next door.
It's a very interesting program, that one. I'm very happy to participate. I'm calling you from Namibia here at Oranjemund.
Thank you. In Oranjemund.
Yeah, I just want to participate a bit on that program.
Yes, go ahead.
Because I understand that, it is a law and the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. Why can't we make some comparison with the Constitution of God? Because what is God saying about these things?
Thank you, Vagoda. Very nice question. I like your question. The Constitution of God. Sister Ogo, probably you can answer that question about the Constitution of God. I had a sermon this morning by Bishop Mbumlwana around this very issue of the Constitution of God.
The Constitution of God says, love one another. Do you love a person when you kill them simply because you don't understand them and because they are different? Do you love a person if someone else's child is not safe in your hands? And so that's the Constitution of God. Anything else, remember that is the highest law in the Bible. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. So that's exactly what the South African Constitution says, and I'm sure the Namibian Constitution says the same. And we all should strive towards doing that. Loving people because they don't harm us. They are just who they are. I don't know if they've harmed you or anybody else. They just want to be who they are. So protect them and love them, because you never know what life can throw in you. You can have a relative, and your job as an adult, as a child grows up, is to protect the child and love the child.
Edna, do you want to comment on that, this Constitution of God?
I've got a question actually. Does the Constitution of God say kill somebody because you don't understand their sexual preference?
We'll answer that question. I'll answer that question for you, but let's take this call from Richard from Limpopo. Richard, good afternoon and welcome to Right and Recourse.
Good afternoon, Denise. How are you?
Fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I just wanted to say that I'm a black gay man living in South Africa, and I'm proud of how far this country has come protecting our rights, but also expect to get there for the explanations that they're giving us, and wish that you do more on that.
Can you repeat that? I didn't hear. I didn't pick up that. I don't know whether the panel picked that up.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying that I'm grateful to live in a country like ours where people are willing to speak up for human rights.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much, Richard. Richard says he's happy to live in a country where people are able to get up and speak up for human rights. Your question, you asked me a question. You asked me, I'm the person who's asking the questions.
Well,
but I can answer you, Edna, is that I think Dr. Martin Luther King says, God said thou shalt not kill, but for goodness sake, he didn't say you can kill somebody who's different from you.
My point exactly.
Let's have a look at and see what the tweeting community is saying to us around this very issue. Tweeting community behind me here, looks like it's not there. I haven't seen the tweeting community. Probably we should, they're over there. Our God is against it. That's Lindsay. Lindsay says our God is against it. Lindsay Curtin, he never made Adam and Steve. He made Adam and Eve. He made men and women. This is my view. Vuzombelekane says, if being gay or lesbian is against the religion or culture, then let God, our ancestors, judge them. Who are we to judge them? And I would like to get some comments around those two issues, especially the one that says God created Adam and Eve and not Adam and Steve.
Where do we think those people come from? They were created by the same God that created Adam and Eve. That's exactly the issue. The issue is that whether we like it or not, in our communities, we have lesbians, gays, transgender people, etc., etc. We have tall, short people, we have heterosexual people, we have people who have no interest whatsoever, who just are who they are, and so who are we? And they harm nobody. They harm nobody.
There was another question there that says, if God created people who are gay and lesbian, let God deal with them, not us, which is separate from what other people are saying, including our friend from Namibia.
Well, people must know that we are the same to God. God look at us with the same eye. Whether you're straight, whether you're gay, whatever you are, we're the same, right? So let God judge us. Who are you to judge me? Who are you to judge what I do? You understand? So we actually don't need people to understand us. They must just accept us for who we are. That's all.
Deputy Minister, let me go down to you in Cape Town. Is it true some people who have done sex change have to change their identity, have to then go and reapply for their ID books so that they can change their names in their ID books?
Yes, I would imagine that would be the case. They'd have to, if it's a sex change, they'd have to also change that on the population register. I'm not sure if the ID number would have to change. I would have thought that probably could stay the same. But definitely anyone, you don't have to do it for a sex change. You have there is a process to be followed if you want to change your name.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Mr. Deputy Minister. Let me take this call from Cliff from Limpopo. Cliff, good afternoon and welcome to Rights and Recourse.
Yeah, good afternoon. How are you?
Fine, thanks. How are you?
All right. I just want to contribute to the program.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I've been listening to the discussion and the response from the guy from Namibia. My own contribution is that God created Adam and Eve, and we know that God knows that a man needs a woman in order to have issue and to live happy. So why are we not changing ourselves, obeying the law of the country instead of that a law of Jesus Christ? That is my contribution.
Well, yes, that's Cliff says. It reminds me very much of that parable made by Jesus where he said when there was a woman, they were saying the woman
was bleeding.
No, the woman had created blasphemy, or then they said she must be stoned to death. Adultery, yes, and she must be stoned to death. And Jesus said, those who have not sinned, let the one who have not sinned throw the first stone. I think they are saying we must stone people to death.
Well, you know, when we were young, they were in the name of religion. You couldn't have sex before marriage. You couldn't have a baby. You couldn't play music that's not a church music. There are so many things we couldn't do, and it was sin. And so I don't know why people forget that we grow as a society. There are things that are revealed to us that were not revealed at a time when we thought we understood things. And talking about God, lots of things will still be revealed to us, even today. And I want to repeat that the law of God says, love another person. And that's what our Constitution says.
Let's take this other call from Comfort from Mpumalanga. Comfort, good afternoon, and welcome to Rights and Recourse.
Yes, how are you?
Fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm also fine, man. I just want to support these two ladies next to you. Yeah, I know what I think, killing those lesbians, it's not good. It's not good, and it's throwing just a picture of our country. But just not to mislead that lady next to that mom there, I just want to give him an advice. You must get a man and have sex. I'm sure, definitely sure, she can get a baby. And she can enjoy being in a marriage with a man, not with a girl. Because I really don't believe that this thing of gays, lesbians, this lady can take this advice that I'm giving her now. You'll come and tell me one day. Because, hey, I don't want to mislead. Let's not mislead many people.
Thank you, Cliff. Thank you, Cliff. Direct challenge to you, Edna, there from Cliff. He can't believe such a beautiful lady sitting here is a lesbian. That's what Cliff is saying.
He doesn't have to believe. He just has to understand. That's all. You just have to understand.
You just have to understand.
Yes, that I didn't choose to be a lesbian. It's not a choice. Believe in me, if I had to choose to be straight, I'd choose to be straight so that people cannot discriminate me all the time. You understand? It's not a choice. It's what you feel. It's what you are. You understand? So there's quite a lot of us out there that we fought with our sexuality when we were growing up. Trust me, I had to date a guy so that I can fit in the society of normal people. You understand?
Did you do that?
I did, yes.
And it didn't work, eh?
It's never going to work because it's not who you are. It's never going to work because it's not who you are.
Deputy Minister, according to law, I understand it's not that difficult for gays and lesbians to have children. The law is pretty straight around that, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Look, the basis of all our law is the Constitution. And the Constitution specifically outlaws discrimination on a number of bases. religion, disability, marital status, whatever, but one of those is sexual orientation. So basically any law in our country that discriminates against anybody on the basis of a difference that's listed in the Constitution is unconstitutional.
If you'd like to join us today, you can still phone the last few minutes that we have on 011 714 5497 or 5498 or tweet us at Rights Recourse. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. Let's take another call from the Eastern Cape. Somebody would like to remain anonymous. Good afternoon, Anonymous, and welcome to Rights and Recourse.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you?
Fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Yeah, my concern is that I just hear everyone calling in saying God says this and God says that. But I just want to know, what about the drunkards? What about the adulterers? That God states clearly that they will not enter his kingdom as well. What about them? So if we want to take the law of God and apply it, why do we just want to take certain portions and apply them?
Thank you, Anonymous. We'll respond to that question, but let's take another call from Lesotho. We seem to be having a lot of international calls today. Good afternoon and welcome to Rights and Recourse.
Thank you. How are you?
Fine, thanks. How are you?
Thank you. Related to the topic you're talking about, I'm just wondering, the so-called straight people, if God, majority of people were bisexual or transgender or LGBT people, and few of them were straight, how would they feel if we criticize them like they criticize people who are LGBTI? That is my only comment. Thank you.
Well, yes, those are the two questions before us. One came from Anonymous asking why is this selective judgment? In other words, we take certain portion of the Bible, want to justify, and then there's another question from Lesotho that says, if God had created the majority of the people bisexual or gay or lesbians, how would they have lived with the few people who were not?
That's exactly what we're talking about, that everyone in this constitution is protected. And whether you're in the minority or in the majority, you just must not harm the next person. You must not have a practice that harms the next person. You must live in harmony, in cohesion. You must respect the dignity of the other person. That's what our constitution is. Until it changes, we uphold the constitution. And secondly, indeed, the caller from Lesotho is correct, or the anonymous caller, is it the caller from Lesotho who says, what if the majority? I also wonder what would happen if the majority were LGBTIs and the minority were, they would probably discriminate if society was in that space. But we hope that no one uses their power of numbers.
Let's just take this call from Zimbabwe. Good afternoon and welcome to Rights and Recourse.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, thanks. How are you?
I just wanted to contribute in this manner. You might gather people
and come to your show every day and talk about gays and lesbians, heterosexuals, and the like. But as long as you don't invite a man like the president himself to come and pronounce in uncertain terms in front of everybody on your show that he doesn't mind because he's the leader of lesbians, gays, and everybody else. And he doesn't want people to ask about somebody's orientation, because when these people go for elections, gays and lesbians vote for the same people. So he should be the one to come and defend that, because constitutionally he's mandated.
Okay,
So
okay, thank you very much.
Follow.
Thank you very much. I would want, on your last words, first let's go to the tweeting community quickly, because I would like the minister to respond to that, because they say we must get the president here. The murder of lesbians, if committed for their sexual orientation, is a definition of hate crime. That's Gig Girls SA. Robin Brandt says personally, gays and lesbians aren't going to hurt South Africa's financial position. Having diversity will actually promote it. And Mvuzo Mbelagana again said it's hate crime. It must be treated as such. Let gays and lesbians and bisexual live life of their choice, and that's it. That's what the Twitter community is saying. Mr. Minister, do you want to weigh in on that question by the man from Zimbabwe, who said we must get the president here because he's leading people, bisexuals and heterosexuals and everybody else, he must say he supports them. But the Constitution says that.
The Constitution says that, and the President swore an oath when he was elected or sworn in as President to uphold the Constitution. So I'm not quite sure what the issue is. But maybe one point, just as the show is ending, to put a plug in for, and that is equality courts. That if there are people feel that they are being discriminated against, one avenue that is there that's relatively cheap are equality courts. They're in the magistrates' courts, the High Court, where they can take a dispute against another person who they allege is discriminating against them or violating their right to equality.
Well, this has been Rights and Recourse, and this program is repeated at 10 tonight and 5 on Monday morning. From all of us in the studio, thank you to all our guests. Thank you, Minister, down in Cape Town, and to our guests here in the studio, and good afternoon.